Now, Farouk's joined me again. I'm delighted to have Farouk alongside me, and I'm going to get your last name right again. It's Kawai. I got it! Hey, we're in. Yep.
Hey, how you doing, Jonathan?
Good to see you, Farouk.
I just had a little bit of a jog from hot pit lane, so I apologize for the breathing.
But you weren't going to miss this, were you?
I was not going to. I was actually just talking to their team to make sure that we're all on the same page.
Okay. What do we got here?
You know,
it's just cool.
It's just a standard, OEM 1984 GL Subaru wagon. You know, there's no modifications done to it, completely stock. That's obviously not true.
That's not true.
So it's awesome when you see kind of a car like this at an event like this. You know, you see so many vintage cars that they just go completely berserk with, and this is what Subaru did to a vintage GL wagon, right? So you take like a Subaru wagon that was built in 1984 that you probably would have put a whole family in, and now Subaru's taken this to the umpteenth level, right? 800 horsepower. Air brakes, it's just, he jumps this thing. It's pretty ridiculous to say.
He jumps it a major distance too, or he has done.
Yeah, absolutely. You know,
and over 200 feet, I think.
I would recommend anybody go see the Subaru like paddock area in the paddock, because the finish work of this car is just absolutely phenomenal. The fender wells are just, bespoke carbon. It's just incredible, and the way that obviously Travis drives it is just out of this world.
Now, we call this Gymkhana stunt driving.
Yeah.
Can you kind of explain the sort of roots of where that came from?
You see the company on the side, Hoonigan, and hooning, is that term from Australia of just showboating, right?
And going fast.
And going fast at the same time.
It's a double use, actually.
Right.
To hoon around places, to go as fast as you can.
What we all want to do or have done, maybe, possibly in snowy areas. And anyway, so you remember in WRC stages when the guy, is not going to make time, and he would make that U-turn and then just maybe add an extra donut in just to show off for the crowd.
Yep.
This is taking that to, the professional level, let's put it that way. And here we go. He's off.
Well, I mentioned Ken Block, and of course he made the Gymkhana as famous as it could be.
Absolutely.
And it was just at the right time, too, because YouTube was just coming into its own.
100%.
And so those Gymkhanas, and he would literally take over an American city or a city anywhere around the world and wait till 3 in the morning, and they would film these, or, early mornings so nobody else was around.
Absolutely.
I've seen one in San Francisco. I've seen, just fantastic. And putting these cars through their paces, putting them skillfully around objects and whatever. And now we're going to see a little bit of what a Gymkhana hoonigan.
There we go. I just love the air brakes on this thing. Who knows how functional they are, but they definitely look cool.
Straight into a donut. Yeah. 3.5 degree of difficulty on the dive. Travis Pastrana, take it away. Now, I'm going to try to force you to tell me how he's doing certain maneuvers. Now, what's that? Where do you get those flips from?
Yeah, it's,
those standard?
No, right? Yeah, exactly. I think that the air brakes that some time attack cars have had, they've tried to incorporate into this crazy Gymkhana car. But here we go.
Now, this family Huckster incorporates a custom VSC designed 862 brake horsepower turbocharged Subaru Boxer 4-cylinder engine. All-wheel drive 6-speed gearbox sequential. And as you can see, he knows what he's doing in it, doesn't he?
And my favorite part of this is that we told him how to enter our area. He's never driven this course before, and he just kind of figured it out. You see him figure out which fence to go through, and now he's doing Travis Pastrana right now. It's
and
very
out he goes.
And out he goes. Obviously, very different with all-wheel drive than rear-wheel drive, which we use in drifting commonly. And look at the speed that this thing just generates out of a corner. Yeah, buddy.
Nice 360. Extra points from the judges for that.
Right.
Somebody's going to have to clean all this rubber up. look at that rear left. It's hardly got any rubber left already. So how do you do that? How do you, you're using the power to turn the car.
Yep.
But are you using the brake as well at that point?
They have a secondary brake on the rear axle, right? So there's 2 sets of calipers, or depending on the build, sometimes they do it inline, but there's a lever that allows you to essentially lock the rear wheels independent of all 4.
I see.
And that really disrupts the yaw rotation quite dramatically and then pitches you into a slide. So when you see them kind of immediately flick into a slide, that's usually done with the handbrake.
Well, he's got the door open. I don't know if he's got a problem, but
now a little bit of smoke out of the car, cheering to the crowd.
Yeah.
And that's that gorgeous Turn 11 building that the women were speaking in.
What a great place to be to watch any of this display. But you're seeing one of the best in the world, and we are very privileged to have Travis Pastrana here this weekend. He is a out-and-out rock star in the world of motor racing currently, and has been for many years, I may add. There's not much he hasn't turned his hand to, and like I said, with the recent loss of Ken Block, we value, I think, these sort of guys, because there are very few. They are like unicorns with the ability to do this kind of Gymkhana display of racing, and very special indeed.
It's you know, it takes a certain kind of guy or gal, for that matter, to just always be pushing the limits. You know, I grew up in San Francisco in the Bay Area, and I remember being in high school and seeing Travis at the X Games. I think he must have been 14 or 15 years old, doing a backflip into the bay.
That's right.
He got into a lot of trouble for that, incidentally, but I mean, you know, from a young age, just always pushing the limits of what's possible with anything that he's driving.
So we've had Huckster, we've had Air Slayer, and now we've got Project Midnight. So
oh yeah,
Subaru have been busy. And that Project Midnight will be in action later today as well. We've already seen it earlier today with Scott Speed. Do you think that's it?
I think they're going to change some tires. I don't know if that's it for this session. Let's see. Are they loading somebody else in?
Now, you're here also for the drifting, so let's talk a little bit about that.
Sure.
Tell us, Ryan's here, right?
Ryan Turek's here. Yep, he's doing the exhibitions with the rally cars on the full course. We're doing exhibitions in the center of the course. So you'll see smoke coming out of the middle of the course every once in a while right in front of the grandstands. There's a tunnel, so if you go to the end of the grandstands and find a tunnel, there's some signs. You go under the tunnel, and you can get a ride in a drift car.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, and we'll put you in the shotgun seat. Sometimes we'll go out 4 cars, 5 cars deep. But it's a lot of fun, and the tandeming, honestly, is one of the most fun things in drifting, where there's 2 cars, 3 cars, 4 cars driving together, and it is like figure skating. It's all essentially mirroring each other's movements, and it's honestly, it's a lot of fun as a driver.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Now it looks as though somebody's either going to get in as a passenger or is getting out as a passenger. Maybe sat beside him. That's not Travis with a helmet holding there. Travis still in the seat, I think. Oh, somebody's going to get the drive of a lifetime. Oh, no, somebody's just got out. Okay. I think they were just fixing the seat. It's interesting. You know, you're here doing the drifting. We've got the time attack. We've got this sort of display. But more and more, now with Rallycross and now with the X Games and so on and so forth, we're finding a home for these types of cars, which essentially are rally cars. And I mean, I know this is a road car, but it's a souped-up car that does tricks effectively.
Yeah, that's a great way to put it. I mean, and the crossover is, you know, it's motorsports love, right? The conversation that we had with Steve was a great point. You know, it's, you know, Steve, the owner and founder of Dirtfish Rally School, and, you know, you were mentioning yesterday, a good friend of mine, Tim Lynn, was driving Jeff Gordon's old NASCAR yesterday. He's now into drifting, and just it just comes down to love. Like, as drifters, a lot of the guys here are going into the paddock and seeing, you know, the heritage and of these old amazing race cars, and it's a phenomenal event for all this to come together. You
know, and it's like a lot of sports. You know, you take your snobbery, if that's the right word, but everybody who gets involved in any kind of sport, but in motorsport, you know, everybody was in their lane, and it's like, I'm a Lotus guy, I'm a Mini guy, or sports cars is it, or Formula One is it? And now, you know, we talk about that with female racing. We talk about that glass ceiling. Well, you know, Rallycross and Gymkhana and drifting, they're breaking that ceiling all the time, and also opening people's eyes to different forms of motorsport. And it always comes back to the fact that if you can recognize a road car that isn't something that is exotic, and it's something that you recognize on the road, and then you see it doing something absolutely incredible that you've never seen before, it just absolutely entices you. And I do think that motorsport now, the new legion of fans, is open to any form of motorsport. It's just because they're not sort of like, you're a NASCAR guy, you grew up here, this is what you got to follow. You know, no, this is
they just want to see cool stuff.
Anything.
Yeah. And I mean, credit to where it's due. The late great Ken Block. You know, and you were mentioning he was the pioneer of these YouTube videos in the early 2000s. I mean, that really, I think, opened the door to a lot of people that maybe weren't into motorsports, the young crowd that was back then. And just, this is some crazy stuff that you can do with a car in the middle of a city that maybe you recognize, those old Subaru cars that he was driving in the early days. It's, it's incredible to break those barriers that are maybe ingrained in people in some ways.
Yeah, and Leia Block, now carrying the flag for the family, has now got into racing herself, and delighted to see her in the F1 Academy. And make a look at that.
I love that. Right?
Shall I put the wings up, sir?
Yeah.
It's like a Bond car.
Yeah, exactly. So every once in a while you'll see the rear wheel lock, and if you can spot it, that's a dab of the e-brake, right?
Okay. Oh,
there you go. Yep.
So, and that just gives you a chance to flick it quickly, right?
Yeah, disrupting the car into a yaw rotation. Look at this. I love that look.
And as soon as that wing comes out, see how it dips down at the front? And that just helps him do exactly what he just did.
Yeah, through the fence.
Look at that.
Yeah. That's not a wide fence.
That is no mean feat, folks. This is not something you could just think, oh, I'll try that. No, don't.
Yeah. Kudos to Sonoma Raceway for just really giving us this a playground. You know what I mean? Like, you see the NHRA drag strip in the middle of this bespoke kind of drifting course that we created for this weekend.
Yeah, it's right there. So the Huckster at the very capable hands of the mighty Travis Pastrana. Wings out, slip it through, miss the crane, don't touch the wheel, don't touch the sides. This is Gymkhana, folks. Oh, around we go.
Yeah.
And you can hear him just fettling the throttle, can't you?
Yeah.
Now, how do you keep that front left so tight in there like that?
I mean, it's just understanding the balance of the slide, right? It just takes time. There's no real trick to it rather than seat time. And a great way to get that seat time is actually through sim racing, which has become a lot really popular. Sim drifting, is extremely difficult, but it's one of those things. We've been doing it over in our area all weekend. It's funny because when you do sim drifting, you really have to drive with technique, not your butt, right? So normally, most drivers
you feel it when you're out there.
Most of the time when the car is sideways, you can feel it, but
you can feel the forces of the car.
The G's,
the G-force.
And in a sim rig, you cannot.
Can't do that.
You really have to focus on what you're supposed to be doing at that time.
Yeah,
all technique. And remembering that in the heat of the moment. But obviously there's no consequences in sim drifting, so it's just hours and hours of fun.
Yeah. I want to grow up. When I grow up, I want to be Travis Pastrana.
I concur. That's a pretty. Yeah.
I'm going to get some T-shirts.
Right? Yeah. When I grow up, I want to be Travis Pastrana. That's pretty good. What a cool looking car, though, huh?
Brilliant.
84 GL wagon.
That's
Subaru.
lovely.
You guys have done it again.
Yeah. Well, I think that's pretty much it for Travis's display here. I'm sure he'll be out again if we give him half a sniff.
Right.
But I think you'd all agree that was some pretty skillful display there in what's known familiarly as the family Huckster.
Yep, just hucking it in.
VSC designed 862 brake horsepower Subaru. Lovely.
Is that what it is? 862?
Yeah.
Wow.
Long travel suspension for jumps on the course. I believe it jumped over 280 feet at one particular event. Yeah, record-setting run, the Air Slayer SDI in 21 at Mount Washington Hill Climb also. So, yeah.
What a view right there, huh?
That's a great view. That is Velocity Invitational. Busy, busy, busy.
Yeah.
Midday, Sunday afternoon. And as you can see, the fans getting a look around. Some racing drivers holding their helmets and wandering off to cars.
Yeah.
And plenty to eat and drink. Don't forget, get yourself a nice Le Mans replica jacket from the Grand Prix apparel folk. And my thanks to Farouk
Thank you very much,
coming
Jonathan.
in.
Yeah.
He may go out again, but let's just pause it for now and
I
let
think
him take the wheels off it.
I think it's time for me to drive. I'm going to
Go, you
I'm
go drive.
I'm
You're
do
all
some drifting.
inspired,
Yeah,
aren't
if
you?
anybody wants to ride, come join me.
All right.
All right.
You heard it first. Thanks, Farouk. Appreciate it. And while they prepare the car, and I'm not sure if it's going out again, we'll take a short break here and we'll pay some bills, take some sponsors, but join us after this.